Funny how I can clean this floor every night, but I still can't find a place clean enough to dream. She kneels, scrubbing a stain, then pauses. A small, grease-smeared notebook slips from her pocket. Lena, you drawing again? You'll get fired if they see that. Maybe, but if I stop drawing, I'll lose something worse. Intricate sketches of machines, circuits, and ideas far beyond the walls she cleans. One day, someone's going to notice. The night shift always smelled of bleach and burnt coffee. By the time the office emptied, the building's heartbeat slowed, computers dimmed, the buzz of conversations faded, and all that was left was the soft hum of fluorescent lights echoing down the corridors. The world of Innovation Dynamics, one of the fastest-growing tech firms in the Bay, slept while Denise Walker cleaned its glass floors. She moved quietly, pushing her mop in long, careful strokes, her earbuds faintly playing a jazz instrumental she'd mixed herself from old YouTube samples. It was her rhythm, her balance. Every night after the employees went home, Denise returned the chaos of their genius to order, wiping their fingerprints from touchscreens, organizing tangled charging cords, refilling coffee pots. To them, she was invisible, but in the janitor's closet, tucked behind the shelves of cleaning spray and paper towels, lived her secret. A thick sketchbook filled with blueprints, circuits, designs for things she'd dreamed of since before her life fell apart. Small inventions, mostly. An adaptive prosthetic arm using affordable recycled parts. A solar microgrid box that could power a single home off the grid. And one, the most detailed, a modular sensor for renewable batteries. She called it the Spark Cell. She believed it could change everything for clean energy storage. Only no one believed in her. Girl, you too smart to be cleaning floors, her best friend Janelle always told her. You should be building things, not scrubbing things. I'm building my way back, Denise would reply. One shift at a time. Because before all this, before the mop and uniform, she had been building something. A degree in electrical engineering halfway done, scholarships she lost when her mother got sick, a job she quit to care for her, and the bills that buried her when her mom passed. She'd fallen hard, and when she got up, this job was all she could get. The irony? She cleaned for the same kind of people she used to study beside, dreamers with badges and unlimited lattes, the next-gen disruptors. Especially Ethan Price, the young executive who loved to brag about being the company's visionary. He was tall, sharp-suited, and had a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He'd nod at Denise when he walked past, not out of kindness, out of habit, like acknowledging an automatic door. But Denise noticed something. Ethan's department worked on renewable tech. She'd see sketches and prototype boards scattered on desks, all marked with the company's logo, and sometimes the same design problem she'd been sketching at home. One night, while emptying trash bins, Denise saw a rough printout left on Ethan's desk, an early draft for a portable power cell project. She stared at the schematic, her heart pounding. It was eerily close to her own spark cell, not exact but too familiar. Coincidence, she whispered to herself, shoving her cart forward. But that night, when she went home to her small room in a women's shelter, she flipped open her sketchbook and couldn't stop wondering. Had someone seen her drawings? A week earlier, she'd left her sketchbook out by accident in the break room while cleaning during the day shift. She'd gone to fetch more supplies, and when she came back, it had been moved. She told herself maybe the maintenance staff touched it, but deep down, she knew better. She had written her name on the first page, D. Walker, and now Ethan's innovation looked eerily like hers. Still, she stayed silent. What could she say? Who would believe a janitor over a golden executive? So she kept cleaning, and she kept sketching. But in her quiet hours, she began to take pictures of her sketches, her prototypes, even the first one she'd built years ago with scrap wire and soda cans. Something in her gut told her to keep proof. 3 months later, Innovation Dynamics hosted a massive press conference. The buzz around the office was electric, everyone talking about Ethan Price's groundbreaking new tech for renewable energy storage. The launch would make the company's valuation skyrocket. Denise heard snippets as she vacuumed conference halls. They're saying it's worth billions. He's genius, that Ethan guy. The spark cell thing is revolutionary. The spark cell. The name hit her like a slap. She turned off the vacuum and froze. Spark cell. That was her name. Her notebook. Her dream. The next morning, she watched the live stream on her phone while sitting on a milk crate outside the shelter. There he was, Ethan Price, standing under bright lights, holding a polished prototype that looked almost identical to her own drawing. The spark cell, he said proudly, is the future of clean energy. Denise's breath hitched. She almost dropped the phone. He even used her tagline, "Power belongs to everyone." That was written in her handwriting at the bottom of every page in her sketchbook. She stared, numb, as reporters applauded and cameras flashed. Her stomach twisted, not in anger yet, but in disbelief. It was like watching someone steal your reflection. That night, Denise went to work early. The lobby still buzzed with champagne from the launch party. Golden banners hung from the ceiling, reading "Innovation lives here." When she entered Ethan's office to clean, she saw a framed newspaper headline on his desk. "Young Executive Reinvents Energy." Her rag shook in her hand. For a moment, she wanted to smash it. But she didn't. She just whispered, "You don't even know what you took." She turned to leave when something caught her eye, a silver flash drive on his desk, half covered by papers. The label read, "Spark Cell Prototype V.1 Final." Her pulse quickened. She knew it wasn't hers to take, but something inside her said, if you don't fight for yourself, no one will. Denise slid the flash drive into her pocket and finished her shift. That weekend, she went to a public library and plugged it into a computer. The folder opened with engineering files, drafts, and test videos. In one video, Ethan bragged about the spark cell design, but as the camera panned across the whiteboard behind him, she saw something that made her heart stop. In the corner of the frame, faint but visible, was her original sketchbook page taped up, the one marked D. Walker, spark cell concept. He had stolen it outright. Her hands trembled. She didn't know whether to cry or scream. Instead, she took a deep breath and uploaded screenshots of the footage to a private drive. Then she sat staring at the computer screen for a long time, her reflection faint in the glass. "What am I supposed to do now?" she whispered. Days passed. Denise went back to work as usual. Ethan strutted through the office, planning expansion. She smiled when she had to. She cleaned when told. But something was shifting inside her, a quiet fire. One night, while she mopped near the elevator, a group of interns chatted nearby. One of them, a kind-eyed young woman named Alina, lingered behind. "Hey," Alina said softly. "You're Denise, right? You work the night shift." Denise nodded cautiously. "Yeah. Why?" Alina hesitated. "I've seen your sketches. You left one in the break room once. I took a photo. I thought it was incredible." Denise froze. "You did?" "Yeah," Alina said, pulling out her phone. "I showed my brother. He runs a tech blog. He posted a picture of one of your designs last week. Said, 'Real genius can come from anywhere.' It's kind of going viral." Denise's eyes widened. "Viral?" Alina smiled nervously. "Yeah, people are asking who D. Walker is." Denise's heart thudded in her chest. She didn't know whether to panic or hope. The world was about to know her name, but she didn't yet realize it would also bring the entire empire crashing down. The next morning, Denise's world changed, quietly, like a ripple on still water. She woke up to the sound of her phone buzzing on the nightstand beside her cot at the shelter. She didn't own much, an old flip phone, some clothes folded in a plastic bin, her sketchbook safely wrapped in a towel under her pillow. She blinked sleep from her eyes and checked the phone. 20 notifications. Messages from Janelle. Missed calls. She frowned. What on earth? She stepped out into the hallway for signal and called her friend back. "Girl, turn on a computer right now." Janelle's voice burst through the speaker. "You on everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, even Reddit. Your drawings are blowing up." Denise blinked. "Wait, what are you talking about? You know the tech blog? The one that posts about underdog inventors? They posted your spark cell sketch with your name on it. People are calling you the real genius behind that new invention." Denise's legs gave way, and she sat on the floor. No, it can't be. It's real." Janelle laughed in disbelief. They saying that design Ethan Price showed at his conference matches yours exactly. Girl, the internet's detectives are tearing him apart. Denise pressed a hand over her mouth. Her heart pounded so hard she could barely breathe. By noon, Innovation Dynamics headquarters was in chaos. The company's social media manager had locked herself in her office. The CEO, a sharp, silver-haired woman named Miranda Cole, had called an emergency meeting. Screens across the building flashed with breaking news. Viral claim. Did Innovation Dynamics steal a homeless woman's invention? Ethan Price stormed through the hallways like a man on fire. This is insane, he snapped, slamming his palm on the conference table. We can't let a rumor destroy everything we've built. Miranda folded her arms. Ethan, the sketches online are identical to your blueprints. Same structure, same energy model, even the same name. You better start explaining. It's a coincidence, he insisted, sweating. Anyone could have drawn similar circuits. She slid her tablet toward him. On it was a still frame from his own prototype video, the one where Denise's sketch was visible in the background. What about this? She asked coldly. Ethan's throat went dry. He stammered, that must have been. I don't even know how. Maybe she saw it from our internal documents. Or maybe, Miranda said sharply, you stole it. The room fell silent. Meanwhile, Denise sat in the public library again, scrolling through endless notifications. Articles, comments, hashtags, hashtag who is D. Walker, hashtag Sparkcell scandal, hashtag justice for Denise. Her photo wasn't even online yet, but her name was on everyone's lips. One post stood out, a reporter from a major tech news outlet. If anyone knows how to contact D. Walker, the alleged original creator of the Sparkcell, please reach out. We'd love to hear her side. Her hands trembled. She stared at the message for a long time, then slowly typed. I'm D. Walker. I didn't mean for this to happen. I just want the truth to be known. She hit send before she could change her mind. That night, when she arrived for her shift, everything felt different. Security guards whispered as she passed. Employees stared from the elevators. Denise held her head high. She didn't say a word. When she reached the 10th floor, she found Ethan waiting in the corridor. Denise, he said quietly, blocking her path. We need to talk. She looked him dead in the eye. The same man who had smiled through her invisibility for months. Now you see me, she said softly. Listen, he said, lowering his voice. This whole thing online, it's gotten out of hand. Let's be reasonable. I can make this go away. I'll give you some money as settlement. Just sign an NDA, okay? We both move on. Denise stared at him. You really think that's what I want? He sighed. You don't understand how this works. I built this. I made it real. You drew a sketch. I turned it into something valuable. That's business. That's theft, she said. You took my dream and sold it to the world. Ethan's face hardened. You're a janitor. No one's going to believe you built a multi-million-dollar prototype. Denise's eyes gleamed with quiet fire. They already do. She walked past him, her mop squeaking on the tile like defiance. The next morning, Denise woke up to a flood of messages again. News outlets wanted interviews. Tech influencers were praising her courage. One post had gone viral, a clip from her old notebook video where she'd been explaining her design to herself on camera years ago, saying softly, if power really belongs to everyone, it shouldn't cost the world. That one line became the headline of the day. She agreed to one interview with the same reporter who had reached out earlier. They met at a quiet cafe near the wharf, where the fog hung thick over the bay. Denise wore a clean blazer borrowed from Janelle and sat nervously across from the journalist, a woman named Clara Hughes. Denise, Clara said gently, your story has touched millions. Can you tell me what inspired the Sparkcell? Denise smiled faintly. Necessity. My mom used to say, if you can't afford the light, find a way to make one. We lost power a lot when I was a kid. I always dreamed of inventing something that gave energy back to people who needed it most. And when you realized they'd stolen your idea? Clara asked. I didn't believe it at first, Denise said quietly. I thought maybe it was just coincidence. But when I saw my name, my handwriting, on their board in that video, I knew. She paused, eyes glistening. All I wanted was to be seen. To be respected for my work. Not for fame, not for money, just acknowledgement. Clara reached across the table and took her hand. You deserve that, Denise. The world sees you now. The interview aired that night, and within hours, millions watched it. Hashtags turned into headlines. Protesters appeared outside Innovation Dynamics building, holding signs that read, "Credit the creator," and "Justice for D. Walker." Ethan tried to hide behind legal statements, but the truth had grown too loud. 2 days later, Denise was called into the CEO's office. Miranda Cole stood by the window, looking out at the sea of reporters crowding the street below. She turned slowly as Denise entered. "You've caused quite a storm, Miss Walker," she said calmly. Denise stood straight. "I didn't mean to cause trouble. I just wanted the truth to come out." Miranda studied her, really looked at her for the first time. "You work here for almost 2 years. No one noticed. No one asked what else you could do. That's on us." Denise said nothing. Miranda sighed. "Our board is furious. Investors are panicking. Ethan has been suspended pending investigation. But I don't believe this company should die because of one man's ego. I believe it can change. And I want you to be part of that change." Denise blinked. "What do you mean?" Miranda walked to her desk and slid a folder across it. Inside were legal papers, a company ID badge, and a contract. "I want to hire you," she said. "Not as janitorial staff, as a consultant and the rightful co-inventor of the Spark Cell. I want you to help us rebuild this technology the right way." Denise's mouth fell open. "You mean work here? Officially?" Miranda smiled. "Yes. I think the person who cleaned our floors might just be the only one who knows how to keep this company clean." Denise let out a shaky laugh, tears streaming down her cheeks. She signed the papers with trembling hands. For the first time in years, she felt seen. But fate had one last twist. A week later, Miranda called Denise into her office again, this time with a quiet smile. "There's something you should see." She handed Denise another folder. Inside was a letter from the company's board and a check, not for her salary, but for equity shares. "You're now a part owner of Innovation Dynamics," Miranda said softly. "The board agreed that since Spark Cell was your design, you deserve ownership. Without you, there would be no company left to save." Denise stared at the numbers. It didn't feel real. This can't be right." "It's justice," Miranda said simply. "You earned it." That night, Denise stood outside the building she once scrubbed clean. The golden logo shimmered above her, Innovation Dynamics. She thought of her mother, of the nights she'd cried in exhaustion, of all the times people had looked through her. Now the city lights reflected in her eyes, not as tears, but as dreams reignited. Alina ran out to greet her, holding a small plaque. "Look what they made for your office," she said, smiling. The plaque read, "Denise Walker, Head of Community Innovation. Power belongs to everyone." Denise touched it, her voice trembling. "Guess Mom was right. If you can't afford the light, find a way to make one." She looked up at the sky, the wind lifting her hair, and smiled, the kind of smile that comes from being finally, irrevocably seen. The world had stolen her invention, but she had reclaimed something greater, her worth. And this time, no one could take it away. The morning sun streamed through the glass towers of Innovation Dynamics, casting long gold reflections across the street. Denise stood in front of the same building that once saw her mopping floors and cleaning hallways. Only now a security guard smiled and opened the door for her. "Good morning, Ms. Walker." She nodded, still unused to the sound of that title. Ms. Walker. Her ID badge, now Red Head of Community Innovation, but a part of her still expected someone to hand her a mop. She'd spent years invisible. It would take time to believe she belonged. As she rode the elevator up to the top floor, her reflection looked back at her from the mirrored walls. A soft-spoken woman in a tailored navy blazer, holding a notebook filled with dreams, the same one she once hid inside a janitor's cart. Her floor opened to a sleek new office, sunlight, plants, glass, and movement. Everyone looked up as she walked through. Some whispered. Some smiled shyly. Others looked embarrassed, the ones who had once ignored her. But Denise didn't hold grudges. Not today. Miranda Cole met her at the door. "Welcome aboard, Denise," she said warmly. "You ready for your first team meeting?" As ready as I'll ever be, Denise said with a nervous laugh. Miranda placed a hand on her shoulder. You belong here. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise. When Denise stepped into the conference room, a dozen employees sat waiting. Engineers, designers, programmers. Every face turned toward her. Miranda cleared her throat. Everyone, this is Denise Walker, co-creator of the Spark Cell. She'll be leading our new Community Innovation Division. We'll focus on sustainable tech for underprivileged communities. Denise's vision started this company's best product. It's time we honor that by returning to our roots. Applause echoed around the room. Denise smiled shyly and stood. I'm not used to giving speeches, she began, her voice steady but soft. I'm used to cleaning up after them. A few chuckles lightened the tension. I never thought I'd be standing here, she continued. But I believe every idea, no matter where it comes from, deserves to be heard. Genius doesn't wear a suit. It can wear a janitor's uniform, too. The room fell silent. Several engineers nodded, visibly moved. That's the culture I want to build here, she said. One where no one gets ignored. The meeting ended with applause, real, heartfelt applause, and Denise's new journey began. Days turned into weeks. Denise threw herself into work, building a small, diverse team of people who had once been overlooked. Junior interns, support staff, technicians who never got credit. She remembered every face that looked tired but determined, just like she once was. One of them, Miguel, was a quiet IT assistant who tinkered with small drones in the basement. Denise saw his sketches and immediately recognized the spark she once had. Bring these to my office, she told him. Let's make something out of them. Miguel blinked. You mean like actually develop it? Why not, she smiled. Every idea starts with someone daring to believe it matters. Word spread quickly. The janitor-turned-innovator was building a revolution inside the company, a new department where ideas from anyone could be tested. They called it the Open Lab. But success brought new challenges. Ethan Price, the man who once stole her invention, had gone silent after his suspension. The media had devoured his reputation, and the board had stripped him of his role. Or so Denise thought. One evening, as she was leaving the office, she saw a familiar figure standing by the elevator. Ethan, clean-shaven, in a modest suit, his eyes no longer sharp with arrogance, but with something else. Regret. Denise, he said quietly, can we talk? She hesitated. Part of her wanted to walk away. Another part, the one that believed in second chances, stayed. They went to a quiet corner of the lobby. I don't expect forgiveness, he said. What I did was wrong. I was desperate. You had something I didn't. Real imagination. I stole it because I thought if I took it, I'd finally matter. Denise studied him. You already mattered, Ethan. You just didn't believe it. You thought taking from others would fill the emptiness. He lowered his gaze. I'm ruined, Denise. No one will hire me. My reputation's gone. I wanted to apologize before I disappear. She sighed softly. Maybe disappearing isn't the answer. Maybe rebuilding is. He looked up. You think anyone would trust me again? Denise gave a small, kind smile. Trust isn't something you're given. It's something you earn. Start small. Do right quietly. That's how I began. He nodded, tears in his eyes. Thank you for being better than I ever was. As he turned to leave, Denise whispered, be someone your own daughter could be proud of. He stopped, glanced back once, and left the building. Months passed. The Open Lab flourished. Denise's team developed affordable solar kits for low-income neighborhoods. Local schools invited her to speak. Her story became a symbol of resilience. The woman who went from sweeping floors to changing the future of clean energy. News anchors called her the heart of innovation. But for Denise, the best moments were smaller. Seeing Miguel present his drone prototype, or watching a cafeteria worker demonstrate a brilliant recycling model. Ms. Walker, Miguel said one afternoon, you changed everything around here. People actually listen now. Denise smiled, her eyes warm. They're listening to you, Miguel. That's the real change. Still, the past lingered in corners. Some executives still whispered that she was a symbol, not a leader. Some doubted she could keep up with corporate politics. But Denise didn't play their game. She changed the rules. One morning, Miranda entered her office with a serious look. Denise, We've been approached by the Global Tech Summit in London. They want you to give the keynote address. Denise froze. Me? On stage? In front of the world? Miranda smiled. Yes, you. You're the reason we survived. The world needs to hear your voice. Denise hesitated. She wasn't afraid of speaking. She was afraid of being seen again, of the weight of expectation. But she knew she couldn't hide behind modesty anymore. Okay, she said. Let's do it. The summit was massive. 1,000 faces, bright lights, and cameras from every network. Denise stood backstage, her heart pounding. She could hear murmurs. That's the janitor who built Sparkcell. When the announcer called her name, the room erupted in applause. Denise walked out slowly, the spotlight soft and golden on her face. She paused at the podium, took a deep breath, and smiled. Good morning, she said. My name is Denise Walker. I used to clean offices like this one. A few gasps rippled through the crowd. I used to believe that people like me didn't belong in rooms like this. But the truth is, ideas don't care where you come from. They care about how much you believe in them. She looked out at the sea of faces, investors, engineers, students. I once lost everything to someone who stole my work. But the real loss would have been if I'd stopped believing in myself. Her voice grew stronger. So, to every janitor, every waitress, every overlooked soul sketching dreams on napkins, don't stop. Your light might be hidden, but it still shines. The crowd rose to its feet. Applause thundered across the hall. Some people had tears in their eyes. That moment became the most shared clip of the year. Hashtag Denise Walker speech trended globally. The woman who once scrubbed coffee stains now inspired the world to chase purpose over power. Later that evening, alone in her hotel room, Denise sat by the window overlooking the London skyline. City lights blinked below like tiny fires. She opened her sketchbook again, the same one she'd carried through all her storms. On the last page, she drew a small symbol, a spark surrounded by open hands. Underneath, she wrote, "The best inventions aren't built in labs. They're built in hearts brave enough to begin." She smiled and closed the book. For the first time in her life, Denise Walker wasn't cleaning up someone else's dream. She was building her own. It had been 6 months since Denise Walker's speech in London went viral. Her face had been on magazine covers, in documentaries, and across social media feeds. The woman who used to clean office floors had become a symbol of truth and innovation. But with fame came noise, reporters, brand deals, investors, interviews. Everyone wanted a piece of her story. Everyone wanted to use her name. And fame, Denise realized, was a double-edged sword. One crisp morning, she sat in her office at Innovation Dynamics, a warm mug of coffee in her hands. Outside her window, Chicago glittered under pale sunlight. Inside, her desk was covered in letters, hundreds of them from all over the world. A young girl from Detroit wrote, "You made me want to study engineering." A janitor from Manila wrote, "You gave me hope." Denise smiled softly, touched by the words. But next to those letters was another stack, contracts, proposals, and sponsorships. Tech companies wanted to plaster her name on advertisements. Corporations wanted her story as their diversity success symbol. Miranda walked in, holding a tablet. "You've been invited to speak at the Global Innovation Forum next month," she said. "And 3 companies want to feature your image for Women in Tech Week." Denise frowned. "I don't want to be used as an image, Miranda. That's not why I came back here." Miranda nodded. "I know, but there's pressure from the board. They think it's good PR." Denise looked down at the stack of letters again. "PR didn't save my dream," she said quietly. "Belief did." That afternoon, Denise visited the Open Lab, her favorite place in the building. The hum of creativity filled the air. Miguel was testing his drone. 2 interns were coding. A janitor was fixing a mechanical arm with a wrench. "Hey, Ms. Walker." Miguel waved. "You're famous now. You should sign my drone before it takes off." Denise laughed. "Only if it doesn't crash into my face again." The room erupted with light laughter. These were the moments she loved, real, human, unfiltered. But when she stepped outside, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. It read, "You think you own the truth? Wait till they see the rest." Denise froze. Another message followed. "Ethan Price never acted alone." Her stomach tightened. She hadn't heard from Ethan since his apology. He had promised to rebuild quietly. What could this mean? She immediately called Miranda. "We might have a problem," she said. Later that night, Miranda arrived at Denise's apartment. They sat on the couch, reviewing the messages. "It could be nothing," Miranda said cautiously. "Trolls, attention seekers." "No," Denise said. "Whoever sent this knows something." The next day, a news headline broke. "New evidence suggests Innovation Dynamics covered up theft scandal." Denise stared at the screen in disbelief. The article claimed that years ago, when Ethan stole her designs, a senior executive had ordered the cover-up to protect investors, and that the board had known all along. Her phone exploded with notifications. Reporters camped outside the building. Hashtags trended again. Hashtag innovation scandal. Hashtag who knew the truth. Denise's name was everywhere. But this time, it wasn't pure admiration, it was chaos. Miranda rushed into her office. "Denise, the board is panicking. They're trying to contain the story." "Contain it," Denise repeated. "They should be confessing it." Miranda lowered her voice. "If you go public against the company, you'll lose everything you've built here." Denise stood, eyes burning with quiet fire. "I didn't build this for them. I built it for people who believe in truth." That evening, she called a meeting in the open lab. The team gathered, anxious. "You all saw the news," Denise said, "and you deserve to know the truth. Ethan stole my idea, but it didn't stop there. The company protected him because it was easier than admitting they were wrong. They wanted success, not honesty." Miguel looked stunned. "So they knew." Denise nodded. "Some did. Some looked away. But we're not going to do that. We'll release the documents. We'll tell the truth." "Won't that ruin everything?" an intern asked softly. Denise smiled faintly. "Maybe, but if we hide the truth, we're no better than the people who stole from us." She turned to her computer and uploaded the full evidence folder: emails, memos, design logs, everything proving the theft and the cover-up. Then she wrote a message on her social media account. "The truth built this company. It deserves to be seen, no matter the cost." Denise Walker. Within an hour, it was everywhere. News anchors reported it live. Bloggers dissected every document. Some board members resigned immediately. The CEO, an older man named Harold Finch, requested an emergency meeting. The boardroom was tense. Cameras waited outside as Denise entered. Harold stood at the head of the table, looking exhausted. "Ms. Walker," he began, "do you understand what you've done? You've exposed this company to ruin." Denise met his gaze. "I exposed the lie, not the company. The people who worked here honestly shouldn't suffer because others covered up theft." Another executive snapped. "You could have brought this to us privately." "I did," Denise said calmly. "Years ago, when I was cleaning your floors. You didn't listen then." The silence that followed was heavy. Finally, Harold sighed. "You forced my hand. We'll cooperate fully with investigators. The guilty will be named." Denise nodded. "That's all I wanted." Weeks passed. Investigations revealed everything. Emails, falsified records, silence bought with bonuses. The world was stunned. But instead of blaming Denise, people celebrated her again. Not for being a victim, but for being a truth teller. Headlines read, "The janitor who cleaned up corporate corruption." She became a living symbol of courage and integrity. But this time, she refused interviews and talk shows. She spent her days mentoring young inventors, helping fund scholarships for women in engineering, and expanding the open lab across cities. One evening, while she was locking up, she saw someone standing in the doorway. Ethan. He looked thinner, older, but at peace. "I saw the news," he said quietly. "You did what I couldn't. You told the truth." Denise folded her arms. "Truth always finds a way, even if it takes years." He nodded. "I've been volunteering at a community workshop, teaching kids about circuits." "That's good," Denise said softly. "Keep doing that." He smiled faintly. "I just wanted to thank you for forgiving me before I deserved it." Denise didn't reply. She didn't need to. He turned and left, and somehow that felt like closure. Months later, Innovation Dynamics rebranded under a new name, Walker Innovations. The board voted unanimously to make Denise majority owner. Miranda became CEO, and the company pledged to build technology with transparency and compassion. During the launch event, Miranda spoke to the crowd. This company was reborn from honesty, from one woman's courage to tell the truth. She turned toward Denise, to Denise Walker, who taught us that integrity is the greatest innovation of all. The crowd erupted in applause. Denise smiled humbly and whispered to herself, "No more cleaning up other people's mess. This time we build something clean from the start." Later that night, she returned to the rooftop of the old building, the same one she once scrubbed alone years ago. The city lights stretched beneath her, endless and alive. She took out her old sketchbook, now weathered and filled with ideas. Flipping through, she found a blank page. She drew a circle, a spark, and wrote beneath it, "The truth never stays hidden. It just waits for the right hands to lift it up." As the wind swept gently across her face, Denise smiled. Not at fame, not at wealth, but at peace. Because after everything she lost and everything she rebuilt, she had finally found the one thing that could never be stolen: her worth. The new building of Walker Innovations gleamed under the morning sun, a modern glass tower standing where an old warehouse once was. Inside, the walls were lined with quotes about creativity, truth, and compassion. Every day, Denise Walker walked through the lobby with the same calm step she had years ago as a janitor. Except now, people turned their heads when she passed. Employees greeted her with smiles and respect, not pity. Still, she never let it get to her head. She'd seen what ego could do. She'd seen how easily truth could be buried beneath pride. And Denise was determined that Walker Innovations would never forget its soul. "Morning, Ms. Walker," said the receptionist as Denise entered the elevator. "Morning, Jessa. How's your mom?" "She's doing better, thank you. That clinic you recommended really helped." "That's good to hear." Denise smiled warmly. As the elevator doors closed, she pressed the top floor, her new office. But her thoughts were far from the corner suite or the skyline view. She was thinking about the Open Lab Foundation, her latest dream, a global network of creative spaces for underprivileged youth to learn technology and design. Her goal wasn't just to build machines, it was to build people. Later that morning, Miranda entered her office holding a stack of proposals. "Busy day ahead," she said. "We've got 3 partnership meetings and a video conference with the Global Tech Fund. Oh, and one journalist from The Verge wants a profile on how you turned a janitor's sketchbook into an empire." Denise chuckled softly. "They always make it sound like it happened overnight." Miranda grinned. "That's because they missed the part where you were scrubbing floors at 2 a.m. Denise's smile faded slightly. "I don't want that story to become a marketing slogan. It was my life, my struggle, not a tagline." Miranda nodded, understanding. "Then let's make the focus about what's next, the foundation, the mentorship programs." "Exactly," Denise said. "If all people remember is how I was poor, then I've failed. I want them to remember what I built after that." That afternoon, Denise and Miranda attended a board meeting with potential investors. The group was powerful: suits, expensive watches, sharp smiles. A man in his 50s leaned forward. "Ms. Walker, your company has an incredible story. But to expand globally, you'll need to scale faster. We can invest $500 million in exchange for majority control." The room went silent. Miranda glanced at Denise, knowing what she was thinking. Denise placed her hands calmly on the table. "You mean you want to buy my company?" He smiled. "Not buy. Partner. You'd still have influence, of course. But we'd make the big decisions." Denise's eyes were steady. "When I was cleaning floors, I used to watch executives make big decisions too. They called it leadership. I called it silence." The man shifted uncomfortably. "I built this company to give people a voice," she continued, "not to hand it over to someone who sees only numbers." "My answer is no." Miranda smiled quietly. The investors exchanged awkward looks. Denise stood. "Meeting's over. Thank you for your time." As they left the room, Miranda whispered, "That was bold." Denise smiled faintly. "So it was returning $1 million check. I've learned not to trade integrity for comfort." The next few weeks were a blur of travel. Denise visited schools, spoke to students, and opened new labs under the foundation. In Detroit, a 12-year-old girl showed her a prototype of a solar-powered backpack. In Nairobi, a group of young women presented a device that turned humidity into drinking water. In Manila, a boy who once scavenged junk now built circuits from recycled parts. Everywhere she went, she saw herself, curious, unseen, determined. At one event, a journalist asked, "Ms. Walker, you're a global icon now. How does it feel to be called the woman who changed corporate culture?" Denise smiled softly. "I didn't change corporate culture," she said. "I just reminded people that the janitor and the CEO have the same capacity for brilliance and the same responsibility to be kind." The crowd erupted in applause. But with success came pressure. Emails piled up. Schedules doubled. Media requests turned into demands. Denise started skipping meals, sleeping less, and spending more time in airports than at home. One night, Miranda found her asleep at her desk, her glasses still on. "Denise," she whispered, touching her shoulder. "You need rest." Denise blinked awake, exhausted. "There's too much to do." Miranda frowned. "You built this company to change lives, not destroy your own." Denise sighed. "I just don't want to let people down." Miranda knelt beside her chair. "You won't. But if you burn out, everything you've built will crumble." For a long moment, Denise didn't reply. Then she smiled faintly. "Maybe I need to learn to delegate." Miranda laughed softly. "Now that's the most revolutionary thing you've said all year." A few days later, Denise took her first real break in years. She visited her old neighborhood, the place she used to sleep when she had no home. The shelters were cleaner now. The community center had been rebuilt with donations from Walker Innovations. Kids were playing basketball in the lot, where she once sat sketching ideas under a flickering streetlight. A little girl ran up to her. "Are you the lady on TV?" Denise knelt down. "Maybe," she said with a gentle smile. "What's your name?" "Renee," the girl said proudly. "I want to be like you. I like making things." Denise took a small notebook from her bag and handed it to her. "Then promise me one thing. Don't let anyone make you believe you can't. Start drawing in here." Renee's eyes sparkled. "I promise." As the girl ran off, Denise looked up at the sunset bleeding across the sky. For the first time in a long while, she felt quiet inside. Months passed, and the foundation's impact grew. Denise became less of a CEO and more of a mentor. Miranda handled the day-to-day operations, freeing her to focus on the heart of the mission, people. Then, one day, she received an unexpected invitation. It was from the International Technology Council, the same organization that had rejected her invention years ago when she had no degree, no address, and no credibility. They wanted to give her the Lifetime Innovation Award. Miranda nearly screamed when she read it. "Denise, this is historic. You have to go." Denise smiled quietly. "I'll go, but not alone." At the ceremony, the audience was filled with CEOs, scientists, and innovators. The lights dimmed as Denise walked onto the stage, flanked by 3 young students from her foundation, Renee, the girl from her old neighborhood, included. She looked out over the glittering crowd and began to speak. "Years ago," she said softly, "I used to clean floors in buildings like this. I would look at the glass walls and wonder what it would feel like to belong on the other side." The room was silent. I had ideas, but no one looked at me long enough to hear them. They saw a janitor, not an inventor. A woman, not a mind. She paused, her voice steady. "But the truth doesn't care where it comes from. It just needs one brave moment to be seen." The audience leaned forward. She smiled. "Tonight, I accept this award not for me, but for everyone who was ever invisible. For everyone who was ever told to know their place. Our place is wherever our ideas can shine." The hall erupted into a standing ovation. Tears glistened in her eyes as she looked at the students beside her, the next generation of dreamers. And for the first time, Denise truly believed the world had changed. After the ceremony, reporters surrounded her, asking how it felt to be one of the most influential women in tech. Denise just smiled and said, "It feels like I finally came home." That night, she sat alone on her balcony, watching the city lights shimmer like scattered stars. She took out her old sketchbook again, the one that had started everything. On the last page, she wrote, "You don't need a title to make a difference. You just need courage to keep cleaning the path until the truth shines through. She closed the book gently, knowing her story had come full circle. From janitor to inventor, from silence to voice, from invisibility to legacy. And somewhere out there, in a small neighborhood where dreams were still born from dust, a little girl named Renee was drawing her first blueprint by candlelight, just like Denise once did. Because when truth and kindness meet, the world doesn't just change. It remembers who made it possible. The city never really slept. From Denise's apartment balcony, the towers of Walker Innovations glimmered like circuits on a motherboard, veins of light pulsing through the skyline she once cleaned. The view still humbled her. Every beam reminded her of the people who believed in her, the janitors, the students, the silent dreamers whose fingerprints covered the world's progress. That night, the wind carried the faint sound of traffic and a whisper of memory, the squeak of a mop, the rustle of blueprints folded inside a cleaning cart. She smiled, shaking her head. We've come a long way, haven't we? Inside, Miranda was seated at the dining table with coffee and 2 laptops open. Okay, boss, she said. 3 new mentorship centers ready to launch: Detroit, Lagos, and Manila. But there's a new offer from the United Nations Tech Council. They want you to chair a global innovation board. Denise leaned against the doorway, amused. The same council that once said I was not academically qualified. Miranda grinned. Exactly. Denise laughed softly. Poetic justice. She poured herself tea. But maybe it's time someone else took that spotlight. Miranda frowned. You're not stepping down, are you? Not yet. Denise looked out at the skyline again. But I want this company to live without depending on me. Real change lasts only if it can survive the person who started it. Miranda nodded slowly, understanding. Then we need a plan. A few weeks later, Denise announced a new initiative, the Invention Fellowship. It was a year-long program that found unknown innovators from low-income backgrounds and gave them resources, labs, and mentorship to turn their sketches into prototypes. Thousands applied, 20 were chosen. At the orientation, Denise walked on stage wearing her simple gray blazer and sneakers. No glitz, no corporate armor. The room went silent. When I was your age, she began, I was cleaning offices where I wasn't even allowed to sit at a desk. But I never stopped drawing. Those drawings saved me. They gave me purpose when no one else would. And I want you to remember this. Your ideas are your voice. Never let anyone speak louder than that. After the applause faded, she stayed to talk with the fellows individually. One girl, shy and small, approached with trembling hands clutching a worn notebook. I made something, the girl said. It's just a draft. Denise opened the book. The pages were filled with sketches of a water filter built entirely from recycled materials. What's your name? She asked. Zuri, the girl whispered. Denise smiled. Zuri, this isn't just a draft. It's brilliance. Keep building. Zuri blinked. You mean it? I do. The world just hasn't seen you yet. But it will. That night, Denise wrote Zuri's name on a sticky note and put it on her mirror, a quiet reminder of why she started. Months passed. The fellowship grew. Walker Innovations became less a company and more movement. Its offices were filled with makers, not just employees, artists, engineers, janitors who now ran departments. The cafeteria had 3D printers beside the coffee machines. Ideas were currency. Kindness was policy. Yet one evening, Denise noticed something odd on social media. An old video clip from years ago, back when she'd been exposed as the true inventor. Someone had uploaded the raw footage again, her confronting the executives who stole from her. It went viral again, this time reaching millions who had never heard her story. Hashtags flooded the internet. Hashtag from janitor to genius and hashtag the real engineer. Miranda rushed into her office. You're trending worldwide again. Should we make a statement? Denise looked at the screen, then shook her head gently. Let the story speak for itself. But people are demanding interviews. CNN, BBC, even Netflix wants a documentary. Denise smiled faintly. Then maybe it's time to tell the whole truth. 2 months later, the documentary Blueprints in the Dust premiered. It showed the full arc of Denise's life, sleeping in bus stations, sketching machines in broom closets, cleaning the very office that exploited her, and the viral moment that changed everything. But what moved viewers most wasn't her rise to power. It was her humility. In one scene, she said softly to the camera, "Forgiveness isn't weakness. It's freedom. You can't build the future with clenched fists." The film broke records. Schools began showing it to students. Corporations invited her to speak about ethics and empathy. But Denise always turned the spotlight toward others. "Don't clap for me," she'd say. "Clap for every voice you've ignored." One rainy afternoon, Denise visited her mother's old neighborhood, the one she hadn't seen since the worst days. She carried flowers and a small plaque engraved with her mother's words, "Do good, even if no one is watching." As she placed it near the community garden, an older man in a security uniform recognized her. "Ms. Walker? I used to see you around here years ago. You were that quiet girl with the notebooks." Denise smiled warmly. "Yes, I guess I was." He looked at the plaque and nodded. "You made your mama proud." Denise's throat tightened. "I hope so." Before she left, she gave him an envelope. Inside was a check for the garden's expansion. "Keep this place alive," she said. "Someone else will need it." A few days later, Miranda entered her office with a bittersweet look. "You've done everything you set out to do. What's next?" Denise turned her chair toward the window. The city shimmered below. "I want to go back to where ideas start. Schools, shelters, neighborhoods. I want to teach kids how to see possibilities in scraps." Miranda smiled softly. "You mean you're retiring?" "Not retiring," Denise said. "Restarting." They both laughed. 6 months later, Denise stepped down as CEO. The board, unanimous in gratitude, renamed the company Walker Collective. Miranda became the new CEO, and Denise took on a new title, Founder Emeritus and Lead Mentor. She moved to a small house near the coast, quiet and bright, where the wind smelled of salt and freedom. Every morning, she taught online workshops to kids from all over the world. Every evening, she walked along the beach, sketchbook in hand, drawing the next dream. One night, as she watched the waves, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Zuri. "We did it. The recycled water filter works. The school is using it already. Thank you for believing in me." Denise smiled, tears stinging her eyes. She typed back, "Never stop believing in yourself. That's how the world changes." She set the phone down and looked up at the stars. The sky glittered like 1,000 inventions waiting to be born. A year later, she was invited back to the city for a grand celebration, the 10th anniversary of Walker Collective. The new headquarters was massive but filled with warmth. Murals of janitors, teachers, mechanics, and students. On one wall was her old sketch of the first invention, the drawing that had been stolen, and beneath it, a quote in silver letters. "Greatness can come from anywhere. Give it a broom, and it will still build a bridge." Denise stood in front of it quietly as the crowd gathered behind her. Miranda approached, handing her a small metal plaque. "It's time," Miranda said softly. Denise turned to see hundreds of employees, fellows, and students watching her. She placed the plaque beneath the mural. It read, "Dedicated to every unseen dreamer who kept working even when the world wasn't watching." The applause that followed wasn't thunderous. It was gentle, respectful, filled with love. And in that sound, Denise felt her life's work complete. That night, alone in her office one last time, she opened her old sketchbook again. The pages were faded, smudged with fingerprints and coffee stains. On the final page, she wrote her last note. "I cleaned the office that stole my invention, but I also cleaned my soul of bitterness." The dirt was never the enemy. It was the place where the seeds of truth took root. She closed the book, placed it in a glass case labeled The Beginning, and walked out, turning off the lights. As she stepped into the elevator, a young janitor entered, pushing a cleaning cart. He looked nervous. "Evening, Ms. Walker," he stammered. Denise smiled kindly. "Evening. What's your name?" "Luis," he said. I've been sketching something too. I just don't know if it's good." She chuckled softly. "Luis, the world doesn't need good. It needs honest. Keep drawing." When the elevator doors closed, he stared after her, inspired. And as Denise walked into the night air, The lights of the building behind her glowed brighter, each one a testament that the truth, once freed, never stops shining.